But just to bring you up to speed, for those of you who may not have been following that, Ibrahim Babangida, Babangida, had written a book called A Journey in Service, a memoir of his, talking about when he joined the military until he left office. And of course, the book, it looks like rather than provide answers, is generating more questions and controversy. But it did say a few things, which I want to run, just show you some of the excerpts of that book. And one of the things he said about June 12, why that annulment happened. If my producer can get me to that very first slide where he talked about, I remember saying, these nefarious inside forces opposed to the election have flanked me. I will later find out that the forces led by General Abacha annulled the election. So basically blaming the annulment of that election on what we call deep state. Deep state are people that are not necessarily in government, but they have some level of power to be able to control. If you go to the next slide, some of the things he said in the book that a lot of reactions have been coming through. He said, as I stated earlier, apart from concerns about my safety, the army was so factionalized, I feared that any overtly strong move on my part could have led to a bloodbath of a military coup. And he had sleepless nights, fearful that situation could even degenerate into needless war. I understand our guest is in Abuja studio, Senator Shehu Sani, is a former senator representing Kaduna Central. Distinguished, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know how much time we have. We've been waiting for you literally on the program, but let's see what we can do in about 3 minutes, if you will. Maybe, as I said, I wrote to the people some of the things or the excerpt of that book. In your view, did this book answer questions, or did it give answers, or it generated more questions from your perspective, especially with the June 12 element?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, there is no former leader that will put his pen on paper to write everything he knows or everything he did while in office. But he will attempt to write what he wants his audience or his country or his people to know. Everything he wants them to know. But it's not possible to write everything. Now, specifically on this book, former military president has made his revelations. And in that revelations, controversies emerged out of it. And for a person who presided over the affairs of this country for 8 years, the organizers of that program, and they could have known that there will certainly be reaction. I was there, and former President Olusegun Obasanjo told him that expect criticisms, expect attacks, and expect questions. And there will be more questions that will be raised than the answers which that book provided. And it so happened. For a person who ruled Nigeria for 8 years as a military ruler, he has done some good things and he has also done bad things. The good thing is that he had a vision and he has achieved in infrastructural terms, and he kept the country together, and he organized the freest and fairest elections. But it was also a government that's what characterized by gross human rights violations, attack on free speech, arrest of journalists, unionists, dissent, and the annulment of June 12 election. And there are a lot of other things like the coup of Oka, that of Vaza, and so many other things, the killing of Delegiwa. So if that book was to have been an opportunity for the former president to meet with the victims of that regime, then the organizers could have reached out to the family of Vaza, reached out to the family of Delegiwa, reached out to the family of Abiola, reached out to human rights activists who are still surviving, reached out to unionists and people who were prosecuted and tyrannized under that administration. And it will have been an ample opportunity. They will fill half of the hall, and then everyone will make his narrative, and he seek their forgiveness, and hands will be shaken, and they will shake hands, and then they will move to the next phase of history. But it appears that the book was the library. It's more about the library, it's more about the book, it's more about the billions that were collected than an attempt to solve the problem. Over the years, I'm one of the victims of that administration, but over the years, we have also been able to realize the positive things he has done. But it has not been able to heal the wounds as it's supposed to, and that was a missed opportunity. Because those people who are speaking now, attacking him, criticizing the book, raising questions, lampooning everything that was done, were people who could have been part of that opportunity which the organizers missed. So it was simply an assembly of billionaires, of political leaders, of people who are complicit to the descent of the past, the annulment of June 12, and so many atrocities that were committed during that administration, and people also who don't even were nowhere to be found during that administration. So it has not solved the problem that it ought to have solved.
All right, distinguished. Definitely, you owe me one on coming back on the show, because I had piles of questions I wanted to have your take on, but given the time we have, we're totally out of time.